has. Those guys are long, athletic, very good defensively. Just Jeff's got a really good group. He's recruited well. The pieces fit, and I think they're playing great basketball.
Stephen Thompson, go ahead.
Morning, Coach. You touched a little bit on how Pitt is different from that first meeting, but how are you guys different from that first game you played back in December against Pitt?
Yeah, I don't know. We're a lot different, maybe a little. I think stylistically, we're still doing a lot of the same things. Um, you know, we were riding a very good wave at that time. Obviously, we've been knocked down a few more times, and so we've had to deal with some adversity. And proud of the way our guys have responded after some losses, some heartbreaking losses. I don't know. I'm hopeful that is going to harden us here down the stretch. But in terms of change of how we're playing or any of that stuff, we haven't done a lot different. We're still kind of who we are. Our bench guys, maybe have gotten a little more experience. So I'm hopeful that those guys are going to play well down the stretch.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jerry DePaula, go ahead.
Good morning, Coach. I was just wondering what, in your view, what the ACC can do to prevent happenings like happened at the Wake Forest on Saturday from reoccurring.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a hard one, right? I was asked about this after the game the other night. We all love the court storming because of the experience for the college kids, the players to be with their students, the students to be with the players. Obviously, we can't have players getting hurt. My concern is we're going to have a situation where a player in fear of safety, somebody's going to push them or get up in their face, and a player's going to do something to a fan too. I think, so there's a lot of concern. I think we have to do something. I don't have a great answer. I have heard some folks talk about, do we need some sort of 20 or 30-second shot clock that you're putting up to make the fans aware that, hey, you can storm the court, but we got to get 20 seconds to get the opponents off the floor. I don't know if that could work. I love it in concept because I love the idea of the home team being able to still celebrate a great experience with their student body. But player safety is number one. And, I don't know how you hire enough people to keep students from rushing the floor. That seems crazy. We need to have the security around the opposing team. Maybe you can put it enough people around the opposing team to protect them. You still got to get the players off the court, which is certainly part of the challenge. And I don't know where a shot clock or something would come in play. Those are the only thoughts I have.
Jeff Hathorn, go ahead, sir.
Morning, Brad. We were talking to Jeff earlier, and he said that Ian might be the best glue guy in the conference. I think he had 17 boards in that first matchup against Pitt. What does he mean to your team?
Yeah, I'm just really proud of him. He's a guy that has just worked and worked to become a really good player. And he's the epitome of what our program's about. Clemson grit, just battling through things and working to get better, believing in yourself and trusting in your process and your race. He's obviously a really good player. He can do more than just rebound. He's certainly known for his rebounding, and there's a tremendous appreciation for him, not only from like our fan base, but other coaches and people that follow basketball that watch a kid who is getting that many things done, through sheer will and effort. But he's also a skilled guy. He can pass. He can make a high post three. I mean, he's really worked on his game. He's improved at driving the ball. He's a better dribbler. He's a better defender. He's an experienced guy that has been in our program 3 years, and every year has taken a step forward. And certainly when you're playing alongside Joe Girard and Chase Hunter and PJ Hall, three guys that are super talented and all can score, your job is to find a way to help that team win. And certainly rebounding is one way that he's done that. But for us to really be elite, we need him to be, opportunistic offensively as well. And, he does a really nice job for us.
I'll go back to David Hood.
With this recent, you guys are playing really well right now. To me, talk about guys playing well. Chase Hunter is kind of the crux of it. And it seems like he's been over the past 4 or 5 games, maybe more of that drive into the lane and create shots there and assist rather than the 3-point shooting Chase Hunter. Has that been kind of a key, point for your offense, is kind of getting him back to where he's that creative guy?
A little bit, but I think him making threes has been significant too, because early in the year he was just struggling from three. And I kept telling everybody he's a much better shooter than his stats. And eventually Water's going to find level. He's going to make shots. And last week he shot the ball very well from three. And so when he does that, obviously that continues to space the court, makes it easier for us to get it inside, do different things. But at the same time, he does have to get in the lane and make plays, as you mentioned. He does have to stay aggressive for us. And just his continued improvement, decision-making, aggressiveness of knowing when to drive, when to throw it in the post, when to take a shot. He's a guy that's had to learn how to become a point guard over the last year and a half, and I think he's doing a really good job of it. And certainly his improved consistency, especially from the three, has helped our team tremendously here the last couple of weeks.
How much did that do for his confidence Saturday there before the half, where he kind of does a little bit of a head fake, steps back, and then just calmly drains it?
Yeah, I don't know if it was just that shot. I think his confidence has been building in the last several weeks. He's had a couple of games where he really shot it well. Miami late in the game, he made some big threes. He played great at Georgia Tech and had a great mix to his game, made some threes, got in the lane and scored. And certainly continued that, as you mentioned, with a really big time shot there at halftime. I think that's the second time this year that he's made a big time three right before the halftime buzzer for us. So I just think it's been a buildup of Chase's confidence, probably all coming together here in the last 2 to 3 weeks.
Last question will come from David Teal.
Brad, any good stories from Wilmington versus VCU and you and Jeff?
Oh, wow. No, nothing. I don't have anything that's, we got along pretty well. He was a young coach. I was a young coach. So I think there was a kinship there that, we both had our hands full, but it was fun just competing against those guys. I think we always had a lot of respect. Obviously, Jeff's dad being the coach at Old Dominion, and then Jerry Wainwright, me working for Coach Wainwright at Wilmington, and those guys, having a long relationship, Coach Wainwright and Coach Capel. So there was always a kinship back when I was an assistant. We had a lot of respect for Old Dominion back in the day and had big battles between ODU and Wilmington. And then obviously Jeff takes over at VCU and I get the job. And so there's a friendship that's been there a long time. It's based on respect and just being good guys, right? Just being the right kind of guy in the job and the way you treat people and go about your business when you compete against each other. We just have a lot of respect for each other, and I'm really happy to see what Jeff's done. He's done an unbelievable job at Pitt.
Brad, thank you. Appreciate
the
time today.
Thanks, guys.
We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
All right. We'll bring on Jon Scheyer now from Duke. If you got a question for Jon, I'm guessing you do. Go ahead, use the raise hand tool. If you need access to record, just shoot me a note in the chat window. And good morning, Jon.
Morning.
Just a second, let me fix my tech issues. All right. We'll get started first with Connor O'Neill. Go ahead.
Jon, any update you can give us on Flip or Caleb Foster?
No, actually. Caleb, we're still waiting for some results and get our medical team together to take a look at him. And we'll know more hopefully later today. Same thing with Flip. I'm not sure if he's able to practice yet. No, he's still a little bit sore yesterday. And so I'll know better later today at practice.
Did both of them get imaging done?
Caleb, yes. Flip, no.
Thanks, Jon.
I'll go next to Steve Wiseman.
Yeah, Jon. One thing on Flip, I want to clarify. He said it was a knee. You thought it was an ankle. I know it was the fog of war after the game there. Was it a knee more than an ankle? Can you clarify that?
I misspoke. It
Okay.
was a knee. Yeah.
Okay. I understand. Just want to make that for clarification purposes.
Yeah.
Have you had a chance to have any conversations with Nina King or Dr. Price or Paul Brazo at the ACC office since Saturday?
Yeah, I mean, Nina, of course. I mean, we're always in close contact. Paul, we spoke as well. And, like, here's the thing, Steve, bottom line, however people feel, that can't happen. Like, even in retrospect, you're watching it back and there's a ton of attention on Flip. But if you go back and watch Jared McCain, there's a student face-to-face with him. It's a dangerous situation. Mark, the same thing. And look, the heroes of that whole thing were our student managers. Our student managers are running on the floor, to protect our guys. And just that's, to me, looking back, there's an amazing thing. I heard it. So I've been told, some people said I should have subbed, like it should have gotten our guys off the floor. Well, two things with that. One, there's still a chance you can win. Like it's a 4-point game. You're hoping you can get a foul. And even though Steve called a timeout and clearly told his guys to stay away, you're still hoping something can happen. Then two, what? So then I should put somebody else, their well-being isn't worth the same as a starter or a guy that's playing more minutes. So anyway, Nina and I have been in close touch. She's been in close touch with the ACC, and the ACC needs to do something. Like there has to be something done to protect our guys, to protect not just our guys, but any team that's in that situation.
I'll go next to Andrea Adelson.
Jon, in terms of that, what do you think the ACC needs to do is the first part, but the second part is, I know there aren't that many games left in the regular season, but is there any hope that they can implement something here for the last few games?
Yeah, and hopefully, one, we want to win. So that's the other thing. We want to win, and we're not in that position. But absolutely, we shouldn't wait until next year. Something should be done right now. And look, I'm pretty sure we're one of the only leagues that a fine isn't given out if your students rush the floor. We played in Arkansas in a big time game early this year. If you go back and look at that game, Arkansas, there's a rope, security, like nobody could touch us, and their students still rush the floor. And so, one, there's a way to do it if it's going to happen, but then two, there should be penalties if the students do it. End of the day, the court, players and coaches and officials are the only people that belong on a court. And so, yes, something should be done now, like immediately.
Go next to Royal Howell.
Good morning, Coach. How you doing today?
Hey, good morning.
Coach, what are your main takeaways from the loss on Saturday as you prepare for Louisville this upcoming Wednesday?
Well, one, it was a big-time game. You're playing against a really good opponent. I thought it was just a big-time college basketball game, back and forth. You've heard me say a couple of times now, they're really good. High-level shot making on both ends. And that game wasn't about competing or playing hard. It was about just having the attention to detail that you need to win a game like that. And, hopefully for the games that we want to be in, that's the kind of game it will be, where you need to close a half better. You need to move as the ball moves on defense. You have to have great resistance inside with post defense. I could go down the line. That's something for us as a team today. We'll watch and study and learn from. But I thought it was a big time game. Credit to them. And we did enough to put ourselves in a position to win, including, we have the ball down 2 with the chance to win it or go into overtime. But it's just about the margin of error that's so little. It comes down to a play or two that you need to make.
Coach, I wanted to quickly touch on, can you just speak very, very briefly on just the ACC being undervalued? I spoke to Commissioner Jim Phillips earlier this year on just, it seems like the ACC is continuously being bashed from just the national media standpoint as far as like the net and the out-of-conference schedule. And you even had some pundits talking about is Wake Forest a tournament team. I think anybody with two eyes can tell you they're they're a tournament team. What's just your analysis of just the ACC in general being, scrutinized from the national media standpoint?
Right. Well, there's no question to me. I've seen this league develop since I was a player, now as a coach for, really what's almost 20 years now. Hard to believe, but that's true. And, there's no doubt Wake Forest is a tournament team. I get confused sometimes when, if you look at the metrics, we have a lot of teams in the top 70 of the net. Wake, I think now is top 20 in the net, Ken Palm, however you look at it. Obviously the eye test, obviously records, winning and losing matters. And, some of our teams have better records than other teams that are in the tournament, but they're in because of the metrics. And so I think the lack of clarity hurts, but also the lack of consistency with which one is it? Because if it's about non-conference, where our league beat other really good leagues in the non-conference, we showed we could compete. We showed we have really good teams with, nationally with some of the teams in the top of the league. And it's frustrating. It is, but it's something we have to continue to combat. And ultimately we have to win games as a league. That's what we have to do.
Thanks, Coach.
Go next to Jim Sumner.
Hey, John, good morning.
Hey, Jim.
Assuming, let's infer that Flip is going to be out maybe against the Louisville game. You've got two freshman front court players who haven't been playing a lot. Does this give an opportunity for Sean and TJ to step up, get some playing time, and make a case for being on the floor as the season ends?
Jim, they're working every day for that. And, Sean's played in every game. TJ hasn't played as much. TJ's working his butt off to get on the floor. You can't, you can, but, it's hard to play 12 guys, and for our group, everybody needs to be ready, regardless of who the opponent is or when you're playing next. They always have to be ready. That's how they're working every single day. And that's if Flip plays or if he doesn't play. Caleb, the same thing. So we need those guys to be ready to go. And, Jaden shoots out already, Christian Reeves. We're undermanned a little bit. It's not like we're the deepest team in the world. So we need everybody to be ready to go.
Thanks.
Last question will come from Brendan Marks. Go ahead, Brendan.
Hey, John, appreciate you doing this.
Yep.
I know you mentioned.
Do I have a choice, Brendan?
I know you'd rather be doing it with all of us individually. You mentioned yesterday how when you were a player, there was something of like a 10-second runoff or some sort of situation like that. Do you remember ever being in a situation like yesterday as a player where you did have, fear that something was going to happen?
I don't remember. Now maybe somebody will go back and find footage of, because I know the court was stormed on us. Like, it's unfortunately that happens. But if you go back and watch, the game on Saturday, 1 second off the clock, they're on the floor. 3 seconds, they're in Flip's face right away. So even like 10 seconds makes a big difference. Like I mentioned, I mean, time, roped off, secure, whatever it is, that was a failure. Bottom line, it was a failure. And the reason, look, for me, I think all you guys know me well enough by now. I worry about things you can control, and I don't get caught up in narratives or outside noise or whatever. In this case, it comes down to the well-being of our guys. And it would be wrong of me not to speak up. I think it would be wrong of me not to speak up for all the student athletes that can be put in this position. And something needs to change now before something serious happens. Go back and look at Jared McCain and the position that he was in when that game ended, where the kid could have punched him in the face. He could have punched the kid for his own safety. When you get a student or a fan that close to you, face to face, 2 seconds after the game ends, that's we'll regret that as college athletics, college basketball, if we don't do something to prevent that from happening in the future. There's enough things that have happened with Flip. I mentioned Caitlin Clark. I know something happened, I think, with a Memphis player. Can go down the line. Like there's enough proof here where security has to be there. this has to be prevented in the future.
Thanks, John.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, John.
All right, we'll move along now. Next, Leonard Hamilton from Florida State. If you've got a question for Leonard, go ahead, use the raise hand tool. If you need access to record the call, just go ahead and send me a note in the chat window. I believe Leonard is on here. Let me find him. Looks like he's not on just yet. So we'll hold for Leonard and then we'll get started. We're working through a little bit of a tech issue with Leonard right now. So once they get it solved on their end, then we'll get started.
Andy, I thought highly of Chuck, but this is I blame